This is all proof that Hillary directed them to dig up dirt on Trump, and then the federal government and the FBI worked in conjunction with that to frame Trump as like there was some kind of Russia connection. Nothing says anything like that. What we have a guy who maybe at the behest of the Clinton campaign, or maybe took it to the Clinton campaign to get brownie points, found this weird Alpha Bank Trump server pinging DNS traffic thing going on. And then they went and they told the FBI and the CIA. And we don't know what the FBI or CIA did, or the FBI CIA looked into it and said, we don't think this is anything.
All right. This next story here, Sitch has done some extra massive amount of research on it. Right?
I think much too many people's upsetness.
Right. This is it's funny people wanted us to cover this story because I said to Sitch before we began the stream that they're probably not gonna like our coverage. So please leave a comment below and tell us how much you hate our guts. I have a tiny little bit of a masochistic streak in me, so I kind of love reading those comments about what a brain midwit I am.
Yes. So we have a couple options here. We could read the NBC article, or we could read like the narrative articles.
We could you pick. Whatever you think is better.
Okay.
You actually brought up some other articles, I guess.
Right.
I've read this article, so I'm pretty familiar with the story.
Okay, we can read the NBC article. How about this? We'll read the NBC article, and then maybe we'll read the Federalist version of the article, so we can get like both narratives version of the story.
The double dose of dumb.
Yes, or just to see what the two movies are exactly.
Right.
Okay, so the NBC one says tech executives.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tech executives use access to White House computers to look for dirt on Trump, says special counsel. Former President Trump and his allies said the discourse was proof that Trump was under surveillance while he was in office. A tech executive exploited his access to computer data at the Trump White House to find, quote, derogatory information about President Donald Trump, a special counsel appointed during the Trump administration said in a court filing on Friday.
Now, was this... They were appointed by Donald Trump, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So bringing back something Donald Trump wants, a council that he appoints, makes a lot of sense, right?
Right. Well, so if you remember when Trump was president, he appointed John Durham to look into the beginning of the Trump-Russia investigation and try to suss out whether the FBI or the Democrats or whomever acted wrongly. Now, it is interesting that Biden didn't nix that. I don't know if it's because he couldn't or just because he thought it would look bad if he did. But John Durham, appointed by then Attorney General William Barr in 2020 to probe the origins of the FBI's investigation of Russia election interference, said that, quote, tech executive one, not named in the filing, but first identified by the New York Times as Rodney Joff, used his access to domain name system, or DNS, data to compile information about which computers and servers the White House servers were communicating with. This, if you remember, this is an old story. This was the Alpha Bank story from many years ago. If you remember, there was this weird story where there was a Russian bank called Alpha Bank, and someone, I guess this Rodney Joff fellow, had found that there seemed to be a communication between an Alpha Bank server and a server in one of the Trump Tower buildings that they thought looked suspicious.
I do remember it, and they do mention it again in the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trump and his allies said the disclosure was proof that Trump was under surveillance while he was in office. Quote, they were spying on the sitting president of the United States, Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio told Fox News on Sunday, and it goes right to the Clinton campaign. In a statement Monday, Trump said the alleged spying was the biggest story of our time, bigger than Watergate. The filing does not allege that the content of any communications from the executive office of the president or EOP or any parties were compromised or read, and there's no indication that data collection went beyond identifying where the internet traffic came from and where it went. Cybersecurity expert Rob Graham told NBC News that what Joff appeared to have been doing was a search for domain names and addresses to which computers had tried to connect. So basically, yeah, what they're saying is that they were monitoring traffic to see, like, it's like going through someone's search history in history, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to see what kind of, listen, they're just trying to see what kind of freaky porn that Trump was looking at. Okay. It's not a big deal.
Well, I mean, they have to monitor communication at some level because we're anybody in a position of power is definitely a target for Russian spies, Chinese spies, North Korean spies, right? I mean, right?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, you have to have some organization monitoring this traffic.
Sure, but I guess the difference would be we would assume or hope that it would be a government organization, not a whoever the fuck this guy is, and
Right.
he wouldn't be doing it for, the behest of a political candidate running for president like
Right.
Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
I think that would be the difference.
So this guy exclusively worked for Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's part of the question.
Right.
That I guess we'll see when the article continues.
He wasn't hired by the Obama administration.
So the claim, so this is where it gets very weird.
I know you're fucking
Yes.
an expert on this stuff.
I'm not an expert on this, but
Well, you did a lot of reading when all this shit was going down.
well, let me continue reading the article to see if it talks about this. If it doesn't, then we'll get into it.
Okay.
Cybersecurity expert, I read that one. When you type in the name of a website like google.com, Graham said the DNS will translate it into a specific IP address on a specific group of servers. Monitoring such traffic reveals only that one computer or server is trying to reach another, he said, not the contents of a person's screen or messages. So he's saying like this is the metadata, basically, which,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still bad if that's being, like, it's not as bad, but it's still bad.
Well, if Trump is on bigtittymama.com.
Right. There you go. No, but obviously the way this article is written, they're trying to downplay
Definitely, yes.
the incident.
This is NBC News. Obviously,
Yes.
they're trying to say Trump has nothing here. That's the subtext
Right,
that you're
right.
supposed to take away. Oh, it's not a big deal. They don't know anything by it.
Right.
Yeah.
The disclosure about Joff, who had not been charged, came in a filing in the court case of Michael Sussmann, a lawyer who Durham's office indicted in September in connection with allegations of lying about his relationship with the 2016 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign.
Mm-hmm.
In the filing Friday, prosecutors said that Tech Executive 1, Joff, gave Sussmann data about communications between computer servers at the EOP, two Trump-owned buildings in New York and an unrelated medical firm in Michigan, with Russian-made cell phones near the White House. The information collection dated from 2014 during the Obama administration to February of 2017. So I guess that's where they were spying on him while he was president claim comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they're saying that they found that Russian-made cell phones near the White House were being used in the month of February after Trump was elected.
Right, to try to access White House servers.
Well, I don't even know if that's the claim. They're just saying. So I actually did read the court filing,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's very short, and they did say that there was this claim that Joff and whoever was working with him thought or believed. They didn't show any evidence because it's just a court filing, but they believed that people working with the Trump campaign or the Trump administration were using these unusual Russian-made cell phones in February of 2017.
Right.
And that they had somehow were able to find, like the metadata, were able to find that these calls were being made, or not calls, that this information was being used to look up. People were using their phones basically to look up information.
And their claim
Right.
is that, well, the implication is that some Russian actor gave people in the Trump administration these crazy Russian
That
phones?
would be the implication.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Because the question is, why would people in the Trump administration be using these strange Russian-made
Right.
phones?
Rachel
Right.
Maddow probably will do an explainer on this. Why
Probably.
Now,
Right.
why would people in the Trump administration? Oh, I can't stand Rachel Maddow.
Now, as a concerned citizen, I would say, why is a private organization able to figure out this information that like people in the White House are doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think private individuals or private companies should be able to spy on the DNS traffic of the goings on of the White House.
Right.
That seems very sus to me.
Right. It should be Pentagon controlled or
Right,
yeah.
right. Because it's a little, and that's where it gets a little different. Because it's different between like, oh, they were somehow able to access information when Trump wasn't president, when it was Trump Tower or something. Which still, well, here's what's weird. When I read this story and I read the court filing, I'm assuming what Joff did was illegal, because they're saying he exploited his access, which I don't know what that means exactly, but he exploited his access to somehow find this DNS data to find out, what information this Trump server was looking at. But how is that not illegal? And if it is illegal, why is he not being charged with anything? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. Didn't they get all the Hillary Clinton emails because John Podesta responded to a phishing scam, reset your password Gmail thing?
Yes.
What a fucking, like, these people are
and his
fucking
password,
idiots.
I don't know if someone in the chat remembers, his password was like really dumb. It was like password or something. It was like 123. It was like some bullshit password.
It's so fucking crazy that the Russians can send he's the head of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, imagine you're the head of a major political campaign and you literally click on one of those stupid emails that says someone has hacked your account. Click on this link.
Reset your password here.
Reset your password.
So that's how they got all the emails. Imagine the cybersecurity if she was fucking president.
Right.
Please make it stop.
Right. According to prosecutors, Sussmann gave the data to an unnamed federal agency at a meeting on February 9th, 2017, 20 days into the Trump administration, and said the data, quote, demonstrated that Trump and or his associates were using supposedly rare Russian-made wireless phones in the vicinity of the White House and other locations. Quote, the special counsel's office has identified no support for these allegations, the filing says. According to prosecutors, Sussmann did not disclose to the agency identified by the New York Times as the CIA that he was working for a client when he provided the report, when he was actually representing tech executive, aka Joff. Legal experts said Sussmann could face additional legal exposure if he failed to disclose his relationship to Joff. In a statement, a spokesman for Joff said, contrary to allegations in this recent filing, Mr. Joff is an apolitical internet security expert with decades of service to the United States government, who has never worked for a political party, who legally provided access to DNS data obtained from a private client that separately was providing DNS data to the executive office of the president. So I don't know if this article gets into it, and if they don't, that's pretty dishonest. The reason Sussmann, who's the guy that they're accusing of lying to the FBI and the CIA, the accusation is that Sussmann, who is Joff's attorney, Sussmann goes to the FBI and the CIA and says, hey, you should look at this information. This information shows, and he did this in 2016 and in 2017. So before Trump was president and after Trump was president.
But he goes for Joff, right? He talks to his attorney and says, look, I need to get this stuff to the CIA or FBI, right?
Right. So the chain of events is Joff has this information. He goes to his lawyer, Sussmann.
Right.
And he says, get this information to the FBI or CIA.
Right. How do we do it so I don't go to jail for a long time?
Right.
Right. That's why you're dealing with an attorney. So
Exactly. Yeah. You let them, handle
the days of like, I'm just going to go to the media myself. Those days don't exist anymore. Right. Yeah.
So Sussmann, Joff's lawyer, goes to the FBI and the CIA before and after Trump is president. And he says, hey, my client, this guy who's a concerned citizen, found, we don't know how this story went, was played out, but my client found somehow that this Russian bank, Alpha Bank, is communicating with a Trump server, and it's a very suspicious thing, and you guys should look into it. He says that in 2016, and then 2017 he says, my client has found that they have these weird Russian cell phones and blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, the reason Sussmann is being indicted and charged is because they're claiming that when he talked to the FBI and CIA, they asked him if he had any conflict of interest or who he was working for.
Mhm.
And Sussmann neglected to mention that him and Joff were being paid
Right.
by the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Right.
Okay.
No, I don't have any conflict of interest.
Right.
No, none. I can't
Which
think of
would-
any.
Which would be a gigantic conflict of interest. And it is very dishonest that this article is not mentioning that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Of course. Of course. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Hillary Clinton signed off on this article. Let's just continue.
Now their defense is, and this could be completely bullshit or not. I have no clue. I'm leaning more towards that as bullshit, but their defense is, Joff is saying I was working for Hillary Clinton in the capacity of providing tech security stuff.
Mhm.
She didn't pay. He's claiming she didn't pay him to dig up dirt.
Right.
That she paid him to provide internet security crap after the Russians hacked her emails.
His name is Sussman? Is that Sussman?
Yeah, right. It's very sus, very sus. Now that seems, even if that's true, I can almost not believe that if Joff found this information, he wouldn't have turned around and told Hillary.
Of course he would.
Even if the original hiring was innocent, I can't believe that he wouldn't have done this. And supposedly, according to the court filing, Durham is claiming that they have evidence that we haven't seen it yet, but he's claiming they have evidence that Joff specifically said that he, was trying to look for a way to make, Hillary happy, basically, with this information. So we'll see how that pans out. I'm curious to what specific evidence is that they have.
Look, it says right here, Mr. Joff is an apolitical internet security expert with decades
Right.
of service to the U.S. government,
Right.
who has never worked for a political party.
Yeah, that's super weird. That's super. Well, I guess it's like one of those things where like maybe he's not working directly for the political party. He's working for someone who's working for it, so he can make this kind of bullshit claim. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not working for them. I'm I'm working for this other guy. Now this other guy is working for them.
Why do you think this line is in the article, though? This line stands out like a sore thumb here.
to be dishonest. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
of
That's why it's in
course.
the article.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Yep.
If this article was against Trump, it would be like, we all know how biased they are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, of course, he doesn't have any bias. He's on our side.
Let's see.
Joff's a spokesperson that's
Joss spokesperson said that under the terms of his contract, quote, the data could be accessed to identify and analyze any security breaches or threats.
mhm.
That's also the question too, which I read a bunch of articles on this. I couldn't really get to the bottom of it because I'm an idiot. I don't understand the specifics of all the tech stuff. Another question would be, did Joff use his position, his legitimate position by either the Clinton campaign or the government to look for security breaches? Did he use that position illegally and immorally to then spy on this Trump Tower server? Because that would be a huge breach of
Would they
a lot of problems.
Would they find something in Discovery in this? Could they
Of course,
find that?
of course. This should all come out when this comes to.
That's why
ahead.
That's why the guy's like. That's why you go through your attorney.
But again, this is weird because they're only going after Sussman so far. They're not going after Joff, which I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that would lead credence that maybe this is kind of being hyperbolized to some extent.
Right.
But we will see. Quote, as a result of the hacks of the EOP and the Democratic National Committee servers in 2015 and 2016, respectively, there were serious and legitimate national security concerns about Russia attempts to infiltrate the 2016 election, the spokesman said. Upon identifying DNS queries from Russia-made Yoda phones in proximity to the Trump campaign and the EOP, respected cybersecurity researchers were deeply concerned about the anomalies they found in the data and prepared a report of their finding, which was subsequently shared with the CIA. Durham's office originally indicted Sussman in September. As NBC News had previously reported, Sussman's indictment says that he was advising the Clinton campaign in 2016 about cybersecurity matters. See, yeah, there you go.
What was he? Was he consulting with Podesta? I'm curious.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, don't click any fucking links, idiot, like you get in your email.
Exactly.
And that a partner at his firm served as general counsel for the campaign. According to prosecutors, during a September 19, 2016 meeting between Sussmann and the FBI general counsel at the time, James Baker, Sussmann told Baker about suspicions relating to alleged secret communications between the Trump campaign and Russia. Prosecutors said Sussmann stated falsely that he was not working for any client in reporting the suspicions. Oh, interesting. That might be his wiggle room right there.
Mm-hmm.
If you read that sentence very carefully, he was not working for any client in reporting the suspicions. Okay. So he could say, oh, I never said I wasn't working for Hillary, the Hillary Clinton campaign. I'm in reporting these specific suspicions. I wasn't working for the Hillary Clinton
I was their
campaign.
coffee guy. I just ran out to Starbucks and got lattes for them. That was my job title.
Sure. Now Durham is claiming in the indictment, in the filing, that he does have he does have evidence that that's not the case, that it was specifically for Hillary. So we'll find out.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The suspicions, which involved internet traffic with Russia's Alpha Bank, were later determined to be unfounded. That's interesting too, because
at the time, the Hillary Clinton, Trump was making hay about Hillary Clinton's emails, right? At the same time this stuff is going on, correct?
That was a couple of months before, yeah.
Okay, so Trump is making hay about Hillary Clinton's emails and Russia. So it would make sense they would be interested in finding any connection between the Trump campaign and Russia.
Right. If I recall the timeline correctly, it was like June or July. Hillary's emails are hacked by Russia, or maybe it was a little bit earlier. Donald Trump came out and he said, hey, Russia, go find Hillary's missing emails, which I think was a joke. But and then in response to that, Hillary then turned around and claimed that Donald Trump was working with Russia,
right,
basically to hack her emails and fuck up the election.
And she could have been doing that based off of this information here that we're discussing in the article.
Well, no, she did it before this.
Okay.
So she was doing it, I assume, purely in relation to him going out and saying, hey, Russia, go hack her emails.
Right. But if someone working close to the campaign came to her with this information, she'd be over the moon.
Yes, very happy about it. Now, I don't know if Hillary might have known. This has never been reported. Okay, so this is entirely bullshit speculation on my part. Because around the same time period that all this is going on is when, if you recall, the thing that started the Trump-Russia investigation was George Papadopoulos bragging to that Australian diplomat that he knew Russia was going to hack Hillary's emails. And then when Hillary's emails get hacked by Russia, the Australian diplomat goes to the FBI and says, whoa, this guy who works for Donald Trump campaign somehow knew this was going to happen a month or two before it actually happened.
Yeah, Papadopoulos was Trump's attorney, correct?
No. He was like a foreign policy advisor or something for Trump campaign.
You're right.
And so now it's possible that that information, because Hillary had connections, was relayed to Hillary at some point when she was running. And then she was using that to sort of, maybe she knew that story was going to come out. And so she kind of jumped on the Trump is working with Russia bandwagon. I don't know. But that's definitely a possibility.
This consumed so much of Trump's presidency, too. This was the thing that they hammered home. I mean, didn't they impeach him over this? Oh, they talked about impeaching him a lot.
No, they did not. Trump was impeached twice. The first time was for trying to get the Ukraine to announce they were investigating Biden by withholding defense aid funds.
That wasn't Russian related. No, that was based off of his phone call with the Ukraine.
Right. And then the second time was because they thought he was going to start a war in order to retain his presidency. Right. Right after January 6th stuff.
Right. Yeah. But you got to admit, they were on MSNBC talking Russia collusion for
2 years
at least.
Yeah, you were correct. This definitely dominated 2 years or longer of Trump's
Trump's presidency.
presidency.
Yeah.
We had the Mueller investigation,
Oh yeah, there we go. The
yada
Mueller
yada yada.
investigation. Yeah.
So,
Okay. We're almost done, guys.
um, I lost my place.
The suspicious.
The suspicions, which involved internet traffic with Russia's Alpha Bank, were later determined to be unfounded. At the time of the indictment, Sussmann's attorneys issued a statement that said Michael Sussmann was indicted today because of politics, not facts. This case represents the opposite of everything the Department of Justice is supposed to stand for. At its core, the special counsel is bringing a false statement charge based on an oral statement allegedly made 5 years ago to a single witness that is unrecorded and unobserved by anyone else. The Department of Justice would ordinarily never bring such a baseless case.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Durham's investigation continues and has resulted in one other indictment besides Sussmann. Last year, he charged a Russian analyst who was a source for the Steele dossier with lying to the FBI. Durham was also acting U.S. Attorney for Connecticut during the Clinton administration and acting U.S. Attorney and then U.S. Attorney during the Trump administration, leaving office last year. Friday's court filing was made as part of an inquiry about whether the law firm Latham and Watkins had a conflict of interest in serving as counsel to Sussmann because it also represented other parties with interest in the case.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Well, I hate this story is so complicated and it's very annoying because it's very easy to take a very complicated story and simplify it down to fit like a dumbed down, low resolution narrative.
Which is what the media does all the time, just to make their case.
Right. And so, like, because the right wing narrative right now is, oh, this is proof. And Scott Adams echoed this very, I would say, ignorantly, that this is all proof that Hillary directed them to dig up dirt on Trump, and then the federal government and the FBI worked in conjunction with that to frame Trump as like there was some kind of Russia connection.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing says anything like that. And what I just read or what just happened.
Right.
What we have is we have a guy who maybe at the behest of the Clinton campaign, or maybe took it to the Clinton campaign to get brownie points, found this weird Alpha Bank Trump server pinging, DNS traffic thing going on. And then they went and they told the FBI and the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what the FBI or CIA did, or the FBI CIA looked into it and said, we don't think this is anything.
Right.
So it's kind of the opposite, really, because they looked at it and they said, we don't think this is a big deal.
Right.
So,
but right-wing media is using it as decisive proof that it is a big deal, even though we really don't know much.
Right. What they're trying to do is they're trying to say this is somehow proof that the entire Trump-Russia collusion narrative was a Hillary Clinton plan and that the government went along with it. Yeah, which is not at all what any of this information suggests, really.
Right.
And I will say, reading the court filing by Durham, it is not an unbiased, neutral court filing.
Oh, obviously. Why would it be?
It's a very it's a very politically biased pro-Trump court filing.
Didn't Trump file it? I mean,
Trump didn't file it, but he put Durham in the position of power to do it. But you'd still hope that the lawyer is acting neutrally and within the bounds of the law.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trump appointed Mueller, but I thought Mueller, when I read Mueller stuff, it was written very neutrally. So.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but the Durham thing does not read neutrally to me at all in the way that he words things and how he presents evidence.
Who is Durham and what is his position? What is his motivation for filing this?
He was appointed. He was a special counsel appointed by the Trump administration to specifically look into the origins of the FBI's investigation of Russian interference.
And Biden didn't disband this counsel when he got into office.
No, and I don't know if that's just because he didn't want to, because it looked bad, or just because he can't. So I'm not sure which one. But
so he did find something, and he's turning it over. This could be construed as a big nothing burger, but there is enough here that the right-wing media can run with it as vindication for everything they've said.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think it's too early to say it's a nothing burger because, again, as I said, I want to know how Joff looked at I don't really care about Sussman lying to or supposedly lying to the FBI or whatever.
About
what I'm more
Hillary
concerned
Clinton
about
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares? He's a liar. They're all liars.
Right. But because at the end of the day, that's irrelevant. I mean, it's not irrelevant. I mean, if you broke the law, you broke the law, and you should be held accountable. But I mean, at the end of the day, if the FBI said, well, we looked at the information you brought us and we don't think it's a big deal, then I guess, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. To me, what matters more is the Joff character. How is he getting this information?
Right.
And was he abusing his authority? Did the government hire him to do something legitimate and then he did this illegitimate act on his own? Or was a private citizen able to just using his own company and his own tech expertise able to just hack into a random Trump server and find this information out?
That's what everybody wants to know. They want to know if this was, spying, if this was calculated spying on the Trump administration. That's Trump's claim. They want to know if that's a true claim.
Well, it's weird because other articles are claiming that the DNS information he looked up was like somehow publicly accessible. Now, I don't know anything. I don't know anywhere near enough about this to know if that's true or not. I kind of don't believe that that's true, because if it was true, I imagine every article would say that and repeat that claim. But
all right, any final thoughts before we move on to Super Chats?
It's complicated, Adam.
It is. It's always complicated. That's why we're here.
It's complicated.
And we're here to move in on Tim Pool's territory. We're coming for you, Tim.
That's right.
All right, so we'll clip these out into stories and upload them. And obviously, if you're listening, give us your feedback. We're trying something different, so let us know.
Yes.
Now we move into what we like to call the fuck around portion of the live stream. We did that in roughly an hour and a half, which we were talking about doing it in an hour. So
that's not bad.
We definitely had more to say about the Russia story, but I think people are definitely interested. So in our audience will be particularly interested because they're reading right-wing media.
Well, and because there's an article that we didn't read, but there's like the Federalist version of this article. It's like, enemies of Donald Trump surveilled the internet traffic at Trump Tower. Like, it's kind of like, like the language and everything is just so, more extreme and everything. And it's annoying because so many of these stories are so complicated. I feel like I have to draw MS Paint graphics just to explain everything that's going on because it's so obnoxiously complicated.
Well, we did a good job of explaining that anyway.
I hope so.
With our back and forth and me asking questions. Right. I feel like I have a very good grasp of what's going on here. So
you don't understand. If you don't understand the story, leave a comment and yell at Adam or me.
Yes. We'll explain it.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.